You think you have friends? Wait until you're broke. Wait until you fail. Wait until you make a decision that doesn't benefit them. And then look around. That's when you'll see who's real and who was just passing time with you. This world is transactional. People support you as long as you serve their purpose. And the moment you stop being useful, they disappear like smoke. It's not personal. It's just how the world works. And if you don't understand this early, life will teach you the hard way. When you're at your lowest, no one comes. When you're confused, people laugh. When you dream big, they doubt you. But when you rise, oh, now they remember your name. That's not friendship, that's convenience. So be careful. Don't open your heart to everyone. Don't tell your plans to just anybody. Don't expect support when you're building. Learn to be your own friend. Learn to clap for yourself in silence. Because the day you stop relying on people is the day you start becoming powerful. Work hard. Stay silent. Let success answer all the questions. And remember this, it's better to walk alone than walk with people who pretend to care. Be smart, be sharp, and most importantly, be careful. In today's world, one harsh truth often goes unspoken. People are primarily concerned with themselves. Everyone is chasing something: success, money, recognition, validation, or survival. And in this pursuit, the needs, feelings, and struggles of others often become secondary. No matter how close someone seems to be, you'll eventually realize that when life gets complicated, most people will choose themselves first. That's not betrayal. It's human nature. We grow up with the idea that friendships are forever, that people will stand by us in our highs and lows. But as we age, as life begins to test us, the truth slowly unfolds. The phone rings less when you're going through something. People check in when it's convenient, not when you truly need them. When you're winning, they want to be close. But when you stumble, they become distant. It's not that everyone is bad. It's that everyone is busy managing their own chaos. Understanding that the world is self-centered doesn't mean you should become bitter. It means you should become wise. You stop expecting people to carry your weight, and instead, you build the strength to carry it yourself. You learn that no one is coming to save you, so you stop waiting. You stop hoping that someone else will push you, fix you, or believe in you. You begin to rely on the one person who has never left your side: yourself. Learning to stand alone is not a weakness. It's one of the most powerful things you can ever do for yourself. It means you're not emotionally dependent. It means your happiness isn't in someone else's hands. It means your growth isn't tied to someone else's approval. When you learn to stand alone, you stop begging for support. You stop explaining your dreams to people who only want to understand you to compete with you. You become your own motivator, your own coach, your own safety net. In a self-centered world, the ability to be independent becomes your greatest shield. People can't manipulate you when you don't need them. They can't guilt you, silence you, or control you when you have no emotional leash tied to their presence. Standing alone gives you the freedom to think clearly, to move in silence, to execute without permission. This world respects results, not potential. It celebrates outcomes, not effort. If you're expecting empathy to fuel your journey, you're going to be disappointed. Most people will not understand your path. They don't need to. Because in the end, the world only claps when you've already won. Not when you're struggling. Not when you're doubting. Not when you're trying. That's why you must learn to move forward whether anyone believes in you or not. Whether anyone understands you or not. Don't wait for someone to validate your worth. Don't depend on someone to walk your journey for you. If you fall, get up. If you get rejected, keep moving. No one else is responsible for your destiny. That burden belongs to you and you alone. You have to be willing to walk paths that make sense only to you. You have to be okay with being misunderstood. You have to be at peace with silence, isolation, and solitude. Because that's where strength is forged. The sooner you stop expecting others to fulfill your emotional needs, the more power you take back. The moment you accept that most people are temporary, you begin to live without fear of loss. The minute you stop depending on others for direction, you start developing your own vision. That is how leaders are born. That is how success is built, not with company, but with character. Not with applause, but with endurance. One of the most surprising lessons life teaches is that the more successful you become, the fewer real friends you'll have around you. It seems backward at first. Shouldn't success attract more love, more celebration, more support? But reality often works in the opposite direction. The very moment you begin to rise, the dynamics of your relationships begin to change. Not always with words, but with silence, with distance, with looks that don't match the smiles. When you're struggling, people find comfort in your situation. You are relatable. You're not threatening. Your failures make them feel less alone in their own. But when you begin to break barriers, when you start chasing excellence instead of excuses, something shifts. The people who once rooted for you may start to feel uncomfortable. Jealousy creeps in. Insecurity starts whispering to them that your success is a reflection of their stagnation. You'll start to notice strange behaviors. Invitations start disappearing. Messages slow down. Conversations that were once warm become distant. The tone changes. It's not always loud or direct. Sometimes it's just an absence of excitement for you, an absence of genuine pride in your achievements. People who once said, "You got this," now say, "Don't forget where you came from." It's subtle but sharp. Some friendships are built on common struggle, not deep connection. As long as you're in the same place, you're bonded. But once you move forward, the thread begins to unravel. What seemed like a genuine friendship was often just proximity, familiar pain, shared limitations. The moment you escape that reality, you unintentionally highlight what they haven't done yet. It's not your fault, but it becomes your problem. This is the reason why success can feel lonely. Not because people vanish overnight, but because the energy changes. Your growth starts making others question their own choices. And instead of using your progress as inspiration, some use it as ammunition. They begin rewriting the story of your success. They got lucky. They changed. They think they're better. These comments often come not from enemies, but from people you once trusted. Success acts like a mirror. It doesn't change people, it reveals them. Some friends will celebrate you genuinely. They'll cheer when you win because they believe there's space for everyone at the top. But others will pretend. They'll smile, but their silence will be loud. They'll say, "Congrats," with a forced tone, only to talk differently behind closed doors. It's not envy you'll fear most, it's the quiet withdrawal from people who once said they'd always be there. And what's even more difficult is realizing that some of your best memories were shared with people who cannot handle your future. Letting go of them feels like losing a part of yourself. But that's the cost of growth. Success demands emotional maturity, and sometimes that means accepting that not everyone can continue the journey with you. Some people were only meant to walk with you for a season. Many people want to see you do well, just not better than them. When you start achieving more, they feel left behind. They begin to question why your life is moving faster, why you're reaching heights they haven't. In their minds, your success becomes unfair. And instead of asking how they can level up, they pull back. Not because you did something wrong, but because they can't handle what you did right. So, the people who once promised they'd never leave might become the first ones to fade away. Their absence won't always be obvious. It'll be in the way they no longer ask how you're doing, no longer support your work, no longer include you in moments that once mattered. They won't confront you, they'll just disconnect. Quietly. Gradually, until you realize you've outgrown them and they've outgrown your success. One of the most misunderstood aspects of life is the belief that people will support you the most when you are struggling. While it would be ideal if help came during your weakest moments, reality paints a much colder picture. Help, admiration, support, and recognition often don't show up when you are down. They come when you no longer need them. People respect strength, not struggle. They gather around success, not suffering. When you're at rock bottom, your cries for help often go unheard. Not because people are cruel, but because struggle makes others uncomfortable. Most people don't know how to deal with brokenness. They don't know what to say, how to act, or how to support without being inconvenienced. Your pain becomes invisible, not because it lacks meaning, but because it lacks value in a society that only rewards visible wins. Weakness is met with silence, not because you're not worth saving, but because most people are waiting to see if you'll save yourself first. They want to see what you do when no one shows up. They want to see if you have the heart to keep moving even when your back is against the wall. Only when you start to rise, only when the light begins to flicker in your eyes again, do they reappear. Not to rescue you, but to attach themselves to your comeback. This is the irony of the world we live in. People love a comeback story, but only when the worst parts are already behind you. They want to be part of the celebration, not the chaos. They want to take pictures at your peak, not sit in silence at your lowest. You'll find that when you're begging for opportunities, they ignore you. But when you no longer need them, they ask how they can help. When you're hungry, the doors remain closed. But when you start building your own table, they want a seat at it. There's something about strength that draws people in. It radiates confidence. It signals security. It sends a message that you're worth being associated with. People are drawn to certainty, not desperation. When you're strong, when you've figured things out on your own, others begin to see value in your existence. Suddenly, your phone rings more. Your inbox gets filled. You're invited, included, noticed, not because you changed as a person, but because your image now carries perceived power. It's a hard pill to swallow, especially if you've ever gone through something deeply painful, expecting people to stand by you. Most won't. They may offer words, but they rarely offer presence. They'll say, "Let me know if you need anything," but disappear when you actually do. It's not always malicious. Sometimes, people are simply too busy managing their own lives. Other times, they don't know how to carry someone else's burden. And often, they simply don't care as much as you assumed they did. And so, you learn the painful lesson: strength is the currency of attention. When you are seen as strong, independent, and capable, people are more likely to offer help, not because they think you need it, but because they want to be connected to what you're building. You become a magnet when you look like you're going somewhere. You gain supporters when you no longer appear desperate for support. When you stop asking for help and start building regardless, that's when others start to offer assistance. It's when you've already pushed the boulder halfway up the hill that people come and ask if you need a hand. It's after you've taken the first 100 steps alone that someone shows up and wants to walk with you. Not because they were never there, but because you had to become someone worth walking with. People invest in those who look like they don't need investing in. They support those who look like they've already succeeded. Trust is one of the most powerful currencies in life, but it's also one of the most misunderstood. Many people confuse trust with feelings. They assume that because someone makes them feel comfortable, speaks kindly, or shows temporary loyalty, that person is trustworthy. But real trust is not built through warmth or charm. It is earned slowly through repeated experience, not instant emotion. Emotions are unreliable. They fluctuate with moods, circumstances, and perceptions. You can feel close to someone in a single conversation and feel distant from them the next day. You might feel like you can trust someone because they say what you want to hear, but words are cheap. Actions, consistency, and tested loyalty are what define true trust. It's not about how someone makes you feel in one moment. It's about how they show up over time, especially when it's inconvenient for them. Genuine trust forms through patterns. You notice how someone behaves when things go wrong. You pay attention to how they respond when you fail, when you're vulnerable, when you're no longer useful to them. Do they still respect you? Do they stand beside you without needing the spotlight? Do they protect what you shared in confidence, even when you're not around? These are the moments that quietly build or destroy trust. Anyone can be nice when they have something to gain. Anyone can pretend to care when the room is full of opportunity. But what happens when the benefits disappear? What happens when it's no longer easy or profitable to be in your corner? That's when you see the truth. Trust is tested in silence. It's revealed in discomfort. It grows only through experience that proves a person's intentions over and over again. People often make the mistake of trusting too quickly. They get emotionally attached, open up their world, and expose their thoughts and struggles to people they barely know. They trust someone's words without waiting to see their actions. And then, when betrayal happens, they call it heartbreak. But the reality is, trust wasn't broken. It was never built properly in the first place. You don't owe anyone instant access to your mind, your emotions, your business, or your dreams. Guard them until time proves that someone can handle the weight of them. Trust is like glass. Once shattered, even if it's repaired, the cracks remain. That's why it must be constructed carefully, deliberately, and through lived experience, not felt emotion. True trust is not about perfection. It's not about expecting someone to never make mistakes. It's about how they respond after the mistake is made. Do they take responsibility? Do they communicate honestly? Do they show growth? You don't need people to always get it right. You need people who won't run when it gets hard. That's the kind of character that builds lasting trust. The world is filled with temporary connections. People who are around only when things are light, easy, and beneficial. But those who are truly trustworthy, they are rare. They don't ask for your trust, they earn it. And they don't flaunt loyalty, they prove it quietly. When someone keeps your secrets without you reminding them, when they show up without you asking, when they hold the line even when no one's watching, that's not emotional attachment. That's built trust. And it's important to remember that trust isn't just about other people. It's also about how you carry yourself. If you want trust, you must first become trustworthy. Be the person who says less and delivers more. Be the person who listens instead of spreads. Be the person others feel safe around, not because you say the right things, but because your actions have always backed up your words. There's a common fear built into human nature, the fear of being alone. Most people spend their lives trying to avoid isolation, believing that being alone means being forgotten, being unloved, or being unimportant. But solitude is not weakness. In fact, the moment you truly understand who you are, being alone becomes one of the most powerful states you can experience. When you know your identity, your purpose, and your values, the silence around you doesn't feel like emptiness. It feels like clarity. Being alone exposes you to yourself. It removes the noise, the distractions, the outside influences that often shape your decisions and beliefs. You're no longer adjusting yourself to fit in. You're not altering your personality to be accepted. You start seeing yourself with honest eyes, your flaws, your strengths, your patterns, your potential. Most people avoid being alone not because they dislike silence, but because they're afraid of what it might reveal. But something transformational happens when you stop running from solitude and start embracing it. You realize that peace doesn't require permission from others. You understand that confidence isn't built in a crowd. It's built in the quiet. The more time you spend with yourself, the more control you gain over your mind, your emotions, and your reactions. You begin making decisions based on your own values, not social pressure or fear of judgment. The world often teaches us that being surrounded by people is a sign of strength, that popularity equals value. But the truth is, there are people with a full room and an empty soul. There are people constantly surrounded by friends, yet they feel misunderstood and unfulfilled. That's because connection without self-awareness creates noise, not meaning. You can't have true relationships with others until you've built a healthy relationship with yourself. Aloneness becomes powerful when it's paired with self-knowledge. When you know who you are, you stop chasing validation. You stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You stop watering yourself down to avoid making others uncomfortable. You walk in rooms without needing to be the loudest or the most liked, because your sense of worth isn't up for negotiation. When you're secure in your identity, solitude becomes fuel. You use that time to grow, to create, to reflect. You're not lonely. You're preparing. You're sharpening your mind, protecting your energy, and aligning with your goals. You stop fearing missing out because you understand that not every opportunity is meant for you. Not every party, every relationship, or every trend is aligned with your path. Alone, you learn discernment. In solitude, you also develop resilience. You face your thoughts without running. You confront your weaknesses without excuses. You learn how to comfort yourself, how to motivate yourself, how to discipline yourself. That kind of strength can't be faked. It doesn't come from group support. It comes from inner work. And once you've built that foundation, you're no longer shaken by people leaving, circumstances changing, or criticism showing up. You begin to attract different things when you're no longer afraid to be alone. People sense your independence. They feel your self-respect. You're not desperate for attention, so the attention you get is genuine. You don't cling to toxic relationships out of fear. You walk away because your peace matters more. You don't follow the crowd. You follow your calling. And perhaps one of the most overlooked powers of being alone is clarity. Without distractions, your vision sharpens. You're not pulled in 10 directions trying to please everyone. You move with purpose. You think deeply. You create better. You plan smarter. Aloneness gives you the space to align with who you're becoming instead of who others expect you to be. In a world driven by self-interest, expecting unwavering loyalty or friendship from others can lead to deep disappointment. The harsh reality is that most people are with you for as long as it's convenient, beneficial, or emotionally rewarding for them. When life is hard, your circle shrinks. When you rise, jealousy replaces support. That's why it's critical to learn how to walk alone, think independently, and protect your inner world. True strength comes from understanding that not everyone who claps for you wants to see you win. Some are simply waiting for a reason to walk away or benefit from your fall. Trust is not built through smiles or shared laughter. It's built through time, experience, and consistency. And help rarely comes when you are broken. It comes when you've already proven your strength. This doesn't mean becoming cold or cynical. It means becoming smart. Be cautious with your energy. Protect your vision. Don't overshare your plans or trust too quickly. Build yourself so strong that you no longer need to depend on anyone's loyalty but your own. Because in the end, the only person who will always walk with you is the one staring back in the mirror. Be careful, be aware, be wise.